Hey guys, it's John with Long Haul Lifesavers, and today we're going to show you how to replace the fridge in your RV, so stay tuned. So what you're going to want to do first is clean out this top section that's above the fridge, because there is a false bottom where they have support brackets screwed in. So you're going to have to remove those support brackets so you can pull out your fridge. So in ours, for us to remove this false bottom here, we have to remove these brackets here and right over here. Whoever drilled this one in at the factory didn't even drill it into anything, so whole lot of good that's doing. Now we want to take out this false bottom. So it is split down the middle and held by a piece of tape. So what you want to do is get a flathead screwdriver and start to pry one end up, and then it should fold in half and you can bring it out. The little latches that hold the door shut was in the way, so I had to go ahead and remove that. Might as well go ahead and take off the other one while we're doing it. So lift, fold, and remove. And see what it looks like once you remove the bottom, false bottom here. So as you can see, there's support brackets here. So what we're going to do is it's screwed in right over here. Also screwed in over here on this side. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove these support brackets, because this beam going across is what holds this condenser in the back end, so it keeps it from sliding in and out. But since we want it to slide out, we need to take this off. Then we're also going to have to remove this piece here. So now to get the fridge to be able to pull out and move freely, it is screwed into the floor on the bottom brackets. So instead of just having normal feet that you would in your house, they took the feet off and screwed it into the floor just for a little bit more stability. So we got to take the bottom kick panel off and undo those screws so we can get this out. Okay, so this is the bottom kick panel we're going to be taking off. There are screws here. Let me see if I can get a light on it. There we go. There's a screw right there in that little hole. And then there's another screw right down there in that little hole right there. So we're going to take those two screws off, take off this gray piece here. This one right here, we'll pull that off, and then we'll be able to take the screws out of the feet. Okay, so we got that bottom kick panel off, as you can see. And what I was talking about is these little these bolts right here. So they drilled them in from the bracket into the floor. So we need to go ahead and take those out. There's one there, and then there's one right there too. So we're going to go ahead and take those out, and then this fridge should be free to move around and get pulled out. Okay, so I got all the screws out of the fridge and everything's done. Should be able to move freely, no issues. What I'm gonna do now is go ahead and take everything out of the fridge and everything out of the RV, everything out of the fridge and everything out of the freezer, so that way it's lighter when we go to take it out. I think I'm also going to have to take off the doors and the bottom freezer portion to fit it through the door, because it's going to be a little tight from what my measurements are saying. So we'll go ahead and get to that. Okay guys, so we're going to be taking off the doors now. So what you want to do first is take out the top portion where your ice goes, and that just simply pulls out, rocks up and pulls out. This bottom one is a little more difficult, and I'll try to get in here and show you what I'm talking about here. So there's going to be two little tabs right there and one on the other side. Where is it? Right there. So you want to push those in push these in while you're pulling on it so that way it doesn't relatch against itself, and then it should slide out. Alright, let's push this one, pull a little bit, push this one, pull a little bit, and what that does is that releases the glides, so then you can kind of rock this out and get it out of there. Alright, what we're going to do now is we'll need a Phillips screwdriver, and what we're going to do is we're going to take this top panel off, because you have to take that off first to get these doors off. So there's going to be 3 screws, one here, one in the center, and then one right here. Once we get that off, we'll be able to snap this panel off, undo the wiring on this side, and take off these doors. And normally if this fridge was junk and completely busted, our bottom freezer still works, but the top fridge doesn't really work. So normally I would just be trashing through this and ripping it like a Hulk, but we are going to give this to my cousin so that he can use the bottom portion of the freezer in his garage.
The top keeps water cool.
Yeah, and the top keeps, I mean, it doesn't keep dairy products cool. It's staying right around 45 degrees, so it's not bad for a garage fridge to keep like water cool, and I like my beer colder than 45, but you know, it is what it is, so come with me. Okay, so you can see these little arrows right here, there's one back here that tells you the pry points and where it's connected, so that's where you're going to want to get a flathead screwdriver under there and pry it up. As you can see, ours is disconnected, but like I said, we have this electrical over here that we have to disconnect before we can take these doors off, so we'll get to that next. The one bad thing about working in RVs is the tight scissors. Tight. So we don't really need to disconnect this piece here, because this is all one piece on this panel, so we don't really need to remove the panel, so that's not a big deal. What we need to remove is the electrical going into the door, so that's what we need to disconnect. And I have a feeling this is going to be difficult doing it one-handed. Oh, got it. Okay. Let's see here. Get all that crap off. Well then. So it looks like they have 2 grounded wires here that we're going to have to take that screw off and unground this so that these wires will come off with the door. So looks like a Phillips head screwdriver. Let's get some light on the situation here. So now all our wiring is free. This panel piece here actually has a rollover pin that goes down into the fridge. So theoretically, all this and the pin that goes into the fridge is all one unit. So technically, we have to take these 3 bolts out, and this hinge piece is going to come off with the door. Now you can get a little better idea of what I was talking about. See how this was pressed into this metal piece? Well, this flange goes down into the hole right there, so without taking this piece off, you can't get the fridge door off. So now it should move freely. Let's find out. It's like ready to fall off. Yep, and just lift right up. Voila. One down. Okay, so let's get you a little closer look here. The reason we had to lift it off was because of this nylon bushing here that sits up into the door, so you have to lift that off. But you can't lift it off until you get that piece off. So let's do the next one. As you can see, it's pretty flimsy, so but it does still rock and hinge and pivot because of this nylon bushing along the bottom. So once you get it twisted out a little bit, just lift it straight off, and you can see that's the bushing it was resting on. So really you don't have to do these portions. I'm just doing this because we're in an RV and we have a small door trying to get it out. So if you're in a house, you really don't have to go through all these steps. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take off these hinge brackets here and here. I'm going to take these latch pieces that they put on for the RVs to hold the doors shut. Really, my cousin lives in a house, so he doesn't really need those. So I'm going to go ahead and shave those off. And then we are going to take off these bottom latch pieces here that they had the fridge screwed into the floor, just to make it as narrow as possible when I'm trying to get it out of that door. That's not a knife. This is a knife. I love power tools. They make things so much easier. Whoever invented power tools, kudos to you. Okay, got an Allen wrench. Just so you know, it's a number 5 metric. Of course it is, Samsung. Now, what I'm going to do is take these out because I don't want these to break with us getting them out the door. So, better safe than sorry. My house looks like a total disaster right now. Does this do like a cool lighting effect? Ooh. Alrighty, everything's out. Now it's beer 30 while I'm waiting on my cousin to help me get this fridge out. Okay guys, so as you can see, the new fridge is in there. I made a boo-boo. So I had the tripod and everything set up, and I thought I had pressed record to watch us bringing in the new fridge, but I didn't. I accidentally took a photo and didn't even think to check twice, so I made a rookie mistake of filmmaking. So sorry, you don't get to see it, but I'll walk you through what we did. So just like the Samsung one, to get the Samsung one out of the door, we had to take the doors off of this one. The only issue is this one has a ice maker and water in the doors. So the water line was routed up here, so we really couldn't take the door off. So what we had to do is take the hinges off and essentially just have someone hold it there while me and my cousin were bringing in the base of the fridge, and then we set it all, put the doors and everything back on when it was in the RV. All we did was hooked up the water lines in the back, plugged in the power, and then slid it right into the hole that it's supposed to go into. And then I'm going to replace the brackets on the bottom because this is a little bit shorter. You can see pretty big gap in between here. So this is a little bit shorter than the Samsung one. So there's really nothing to put a support bracket in to hold this in place. So I want to make sure that I definitely have the screws on the bottom of here to hold this in place. That way when we travel, we're not going to be all that worried about it. And I honestly think I'm not going to put the filler board that goes in here because I want more airflow to go back through there. I think that's the reason that the Samsung went bad. So I'm going to leave that open for the airflow. So what we're going to do now is we're going to, we put some stuff up here just to get it out of the way. So we're going to open these back up, and then I'm going to put the floor, that pivot floor that I showed you guys yesterday, we're going to put that back in here to get some stuff out of the way. That way we can get stuff cleaned up because we're going to have a barbecue tonight. Okay. Let's see. Open it up partially. There. Now we're going to put the latch holders for the door back in. So there is a certain way to put these in, and when you put them in, you want to make sure this is flush with your cabinet or else it won't shut properly. So this is, there is a place or a space in here that you can adjust these back and forth. So you want to make sure that this front piece is all flush with the front of your cabinet so that the door closes properly. Voila! Okay guys, we are going to finish up the install on this fridge today. As you can see, I'm in a different shirt because I was waiting on parts. I took our old fridge over to my cousin's, and I thought some of the parts that were for his new fridge were actually for mine, so I was waiting to get those back from him. So really we only have two pieces left to put on, and we are going to put on the floor supports where we can drill back into the floor so that this isn't going to move around when we're moving, because our old Samsung fridge had the condenser on top, so we were able to put a 2x4 just in front of that condenser and screw it in so it wouldn't rock back and forth. This fridge unfortunately doesn't have it, so we're going to rely on the front feet drilled into the floor. So let's go ahead. I'm going to grab the parts and we're going to get to it. Okay, so these are going to be the pieces that we put into the fridge. So they're going to attach to the front of the fridge like this, and then we can drill into the bottom going into the floor, and that's what's going to hold it. It is a lot easier to get to the holes on these when you have the freezer door open. All right, let's get some screws to go into the floor. So the trick with getting the screws that go into the floor is you don't want to be too long that they're going to go completely through the floor, so that way when you pull the slide in, it scratches your floor. But you also want them long enough where it's going to bite through that subfloor and get a little bit of grip. So my mounts are directly flush with the floor, so I'm thinking these 1/2-inch screws are going to be enough to get us by. Let's do the other side. Okay. That is in. It's weird. Drilled 2 other pilot holes and no metal. Then the third one, there's magically metal. I don't know. But it's in there now. It's solid. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Maybe if we want to in the future, I can put like some eyelets in here and then put a strap going across it. I don't know. We'll see. It may be okay. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's episode. Thanks for watching on the install of this new fridge. Yes, it was a pain in the butt, but it was a necessity. We needed a fridge, so we got it done. Hope you got some good content out of this. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and then head on over to Instagram. Follow us at Long Haul Lifesavers. See you guys!